If you thought the Jeffrey Epstein scandal was done, buried, and locked away with a nothing to see here sign, welcome to 2025, where the Trump administration just managed to make it even messier. And yes, Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted sex trafficker and Epstein's right-hand woman, is right in the middle of it again. Here's the headline. A federal judge just smacked down the Trump administration's big public push to release Maxwell's secret grand jury testimony, calling it a diversion, and basically accusing the DOJ of trying to create the illusion of transparency, and that is just the start. The only thing unsealed here is just how badly they want to look like they're doing something while doing nothing. The quote-unquote transparency that wasn't. On the morning of Monday, August 11, inside a Manhattan federal courtroom, U.S. District Judge Paul A. Engelmeyer torpedoed one of the Trump administration's biggest transparency plays in the Epstein-Maxwell scandal. In a sharply worded 31-page ruling, he refused to unseal Ghislaine Maxwell's grand jury transcripts, warning it would, quote, risk unraveling the foundations of secrecy upon which the grand jury is premised. He went further, calling the government's promise of revelations demonstrably false and suggesting the whole push was less about truth and more about political theater. After personally reviewing the materials, Engelmeyer said anyone familiar with Maxwell's 2021 trial would learn next to nothing new and would come away feeling disappointed and misled. Translation, there's no Epstein client list hiding in there. No secret photos, no surprise political names, nothing that would satisfy the internet's favorite conspiracy threads. So why push for this at all? According to Engelmeyer, the best argument for unsealing the transcripts wasn't to inform the public. It was to expose as disingenuous the government's public explanations for moving to unseal. It fits with what many critics have been saying, that this move was never about transparency. It was about creating a PR moment to distract from the fact that the administration had just closed the Epstein investigation without revealing anything new. So what's actually in these transcripts? Well, not much. The DOJ admitted only 2 people testified before the grand jury, an FBI agent and an NYPD detective. No victims, no politicians, no friends of Epstein being grilled. Just standard law enforcement testimony already covered at trial. It's like hyping up a tell-all book only to discover it's a police procedural manual. The politics behind the push. Epstein's name has been political nitroglycerin for years now, and Trump's long, complicated association with him keeps coming back at the worst possible moments. Flight logs, old photos, a Wall Street Journal report claiming Trump sent Epstein a bawdy letter in 2003. All of it keeps the story alive. And honestly, it keeps me really busy here on this channel. So when the DOJ announced in July that Epstein had no client list, no blackmail stash, and that his death in 2019 was a suicide, Trump's own supporters revolted. The solution? I guess push to unseal these meaningless Maxwell transcripts, make it look like something's being done, and hope the headlines distract from the fact that the real files are still sealed. Maxwell's new role and new address. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell herself has been a busy lady. Last month, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche spent 9 hours over 2 days interviewing her in Florida. Her lawyer says she answered every single question honestly, truthfully, and to the best of her ability. A week later, she was quietly moved from her low-security Florida prison to an even cushier minimum security camp in Bryan, Texas, the same place where Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes is serving her sentence. Do you think they hang out? Do you think they've met? This club-fed upgrade sparked outrage from victims' families, who called it preferential treatment without any notification to Maxwell's victims. The pardon rumors. If that wasn't enough to raise eyebrows, a former fellow inmate claims Maxwell once told her she had compromising information about Donald Trump and hoped to use it to get a pardon from President Biden before the 2024 election. Obviously, that didn't happen, but with Trump back in the White House, the whispers have shifted. Not about Biden pardoning her, but whether Trump might. Publicly, Trump says,
"This is no time to be talking about pardons."
Privately though, who frickin' knows? The Supreme Court angle. Maxwell isn't just hoping for political favors. She's also appealing her conviction to the Supreme Court. Her lawyers argue she should have been shielded by Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement in Florida, which promised protection not just for him, but for 4 named others, which they claim should have included her. Now, this is the same dodgy sweetheart deal Jeff was afforded by Alexander Acaster, former prosecutor and Secretary of Labor. The deal itself is bizarre and fascinating. Jeffrey was let off very lightly, and there are claims that Acaster was told he belongs to intelligence and to leave it alone. Some legal experts say the argument could actually get traction, since different appeals courts have split on whether one US attorney's plea deal can bind the entire federal government. If the Supreme Court takes the case and sides with her, she could walk. Congress wants in. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed the DOJ for all Epstein files. They've even issued subpoenas to Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and several law enforcement officials. They also subpoenaed Ghislaine Maxwell to testify, but negotiations collapsed after she demanded immunity and advanced copies of the questions. In other words, Ghislaine is willing to talk if she's guaranteed nothing she says can be used against her, which tells you, I don't know, everything you need to know about what type of person Ghislaine really is. Gross bitch. Why this matters. This whole episode, the fake transparency and cushy prison move, the still sealed files, it speaks volumes about how the Trump administration is handling the Epstein scandal. First, they promised bombshell revelations. Then they admitted there was nothing new. Then they hyped the release of transcripts that were already public in substance. And now they're giving Maxwell what looks like an awful lot of favorable treatment while she dangles the possibility of clearing Trump's name. Whether you believe the conspiracy theories or not, this is exactly how you keep them alive. The bottom line. Judge Engelmeyer's ruling isn't just a legal setback for Trump's DOJ. It's like a political embarrassment. And here's the thing, the real answers, if there are any, are still locked away in thousands of unreleased documents the government refuses to touch. Until those come out or anything else of interest actually happens, we're left with just rumors, court fights, and the unsettling image of Ghislaine Maxwell strolling the yard of a Texas prison camp, probably holding cards she's not ready to play. One thing is certain, this story isn't over, and if history's any guide, the next twist will be weirder than the last. Like, this is never gonna end. If you're locked in on Epstein stuff, check out all the other videos I've done on it. Ghislaine specifically looked into her whole thing with her weird family and her weird dad with his weird yacht. He stole a bunch of money. Who's surprised? My God. Bye!